Okay, I think I'm pretty much good to go. I know I'm losing big frames on this. Let me see here. Well, we'll just go and get started. Hey, everybody, welcome to this video I just wanted to get ahead of because I'm anticipating a lot of people are going to be asking a lot of information about the Witch Doctor class pertaining to PTR, or just basically PTR questions in general. So what I wanted to do is just go over some of the major things that we need to be focusing on as Witch Doctors and on the PTR for patch 2.2. Just so you guys know, this patch probably won't be out until the end of season, so it can be anywhere between 3 to 4 months from now. They could hotfix some individual things into the live servers, but I'm not too for sure. But this will just kind of just go over everything that you really should be focused on, the biggest changes for Witch Doctor, and what things you can look forward to. As you guys see, I'm on the PTR server right now. I'm inside the queue of hell. Between the queues going anywhere between 5 minutes to 2 or 3 hours. That's been pretty crazy. You can always find people to invite you into games, but the biggest problem right now in PTR is in combination with the queue times is also with the massive amount of frame drops because the game is not optimized. So between those things, I haven't really been able to test out any major builds in Greater Rifts because everything freezes up, but I've been able to get some of the items and check out a couple of things when I wasn't lagging horribly or when I was actually inside the game. So what we're going to do is going to go ahead and leave this picture up. If I get in, I can show you some items live and let you know and go over and scenes. I can show you a couple items that I've gotten, but let's go ahead and get into it. Long story short, there's a lot of changes to the new PTR for the Witch Doctors. Most importantly, the Zunimasa 6-piece, which was revealed to be when you have the 6 pieces of the Zunimasa and you use a mana spender on the enemy, they take 100% damage, increased damage from your pets for 4 seconds. Pretty decent pass, pretty strong, but I'll get into details why there's some problems with that. They also included some new legendary items that are specifically for Witch Doctor, and they also included some items that are basically generally for everybody that everybody can pretty much work with. Let's just go ahead and get started. I'm going to break this down to 4 sections. First section is going to cover skill changes, followed by new Witch Doctor specific items, new items that work with Witch Doctors, and skill builds with new items and what have you not. So we're going to get down into skill changes. Right now, currently, you guys know for the new season, they have a skill called Poison Spirit for the Haunt rune. It's a poison property rune. It's supposed to basically make all the sources, or once you haunt a target, it's supposed to take 20% damage from all sources. Currently on live server is bugged and it's not actually applying the damage to the haunt itself. They fixed that on PTR. That's a big difference and I do enjoy that. It makes a hell of a difference, especially if you're running the Jade build. So hopefully they'll go ahead and hotfix that one in. I don't really see a big problem of them hot fixing that specific fix for the skill we already have in game on live servers, but they might wait till next server, so that was a positive thing. Really happy with Hex. Hex, as you know, is a little pet that's untargetable. I do believe he stays up for 8 seconds and he has a 15-second cooldown, so if you have a good amount of cooldown reduction, it's really easy to keep him out all the time. And the cool thing about it, I do believe, let me see here, every 3 to 4 seconds, or let me see here, they increase the hex time from 3 to 4 seconds, and the duration in which enemies can be hexed is reduced from 4 to 3 seconds. So every 3 to let me see here. The minimum time between hex casts. So basically, every 4 seconds he can cast a hex, and when he casts a hex, those enemies will be hexed for 3 seconds. One of the coolest things about while the enemies are actually hexed is that, well, there's different runes and different things, but I like to use the one that makes it so they take 20% increased damage. But the greatest thing is that instead of using only basically hexing one target, they change it so it hexes multiple. The most I've seen or gotten is about 4 or 5. Sometimes I've seen more, sometimes I've seen less, but it's an AoE hex now, and that's actually very strong. I've been incorporating it with the Wormwood Jade build because you get the drop Locust Swarm, and I've been running Hex. 20% additional damage is fantastic. Works on elites, works on trashes, does not work on Rift Guardians. However, when I did fight one Rift Guardian, I think there is one glitch when if the Rift Guardian spawns monsters and you hex, if the monster, or the Greater Rift Guardian happens to be next to it, then for some reason it hexes the Rift Guardian too. So I've already sent that that in the Blizzard. Hopefully that was just a random occurrence thing, but hopefully that's not a regular thing. So that was one thing that was actually pretty interesting about it. Outside of all that, it's going to make it a pretty solid skill. I could definitely see people using it in pet builds, because why wouldn't you want, I mean, especially if it's some cooldown reduction, why wouldn't you want to use an ability or use a pet that's untargetable? Every 4 seconds you cast an AoE Hex ability that not only CCs the target but makes them take 20% more damage. So if you guys are on the PTR, or if you guys are wondering what's going to be coming up with Hex, it's definitely, I think it's going to be usable in the future, and it's a really solid skill, so I'm pretty happy with Blizzard actually addressing that issue. Only one bad downside I saw is that the Plague of Toads, Reign of Toads, the proc coefficient to proc fetishes has been reduced. However, this brings me on to my next part. For the passive skill Fetish Sycophants, they raise the proc chance from 10% to 15%, so that might end up balancing out, and I'm pretty sure you're still going to be using Reign of Toads predominantly to be generating your fetishes. This will, however, be a very big buff for the Carnival build that uses Dagger of Darts, since Dagger of Darts did not receive any type of proc coefficient reduced for that specific skill. So if you're using Reign of Toads, might take a little bit of nerf, but then again, with some new legendary items, you may not even be using Fetish Sycophants anymore, and then of course with the Carnival build, which I'm sure will still be using that build, they can rejoice because Dagger Darts didn't get touched at all, so that's going to be a little buff to them. So that is pretty actually understandable due to the fact for them changing the values from 10% to 15%. And let me see here. That pretty much covers for the active and the passive skills for Witch Doctor. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next section, and like I said, I want to go ahead and keep this video very short and to the point. Little Man's Finger, just like Tall Man's Finger, except it works for Gargantuan. It takes one giant Gargantuan and splits it into 3 little mini Gargantuan, and these little mini Gargantuans do more damage than the single big Gargantuan by itself. They all gain the same effect from the rune, so if you got to set the Wrathful Protector, they'll be out there for 15 seconds and they'll vanish. You set them to the poison one, the oh my goodness, Big Stinker, then they'll all emit a little AoE poison, and so on and so forth. So that's definitely pretty cool. The highest damaging one out of the little mini gargoyles, or little mini I call them gargoyles, gargantuans that are summoned, are actually the Wrathful Protector ones, which is pretty cool. I was working on a permanent Wrathful Protector fire build, what we used to run back before they nerfed it initially. The little guys are hitting for about 100 to 110, which is pretty cool for 3 different ones. And I'm just trying to figure out to get enough cooldown reduction so I can get it down to the point where it's 15%. Well, I'm sorry. Basically, they'll last for 15 seconds. So your goal is to run Tribal Rites, which reduces the time greatly of the Gargantuan, and then get enough cooldown reduction where you can knock it down to at least about 20 to 25 seconds. So by the time they're done killing stuff, you can resummon another set of them. So I'm looking into that. Very highly enjoyable weapon, very solid. Inside the guide that I included, which will be in the description, you guys can go ahead and check out all the pictures and stuff. But very good job by Blizzard by incorporating legendaries that are pretty self-sufficient, that are really fun to play and utilize in groups. I expect to see a lot of people, even in T6 content, non-Rift content, or maybe even lower grade Rifts, they'll be running a Tall Man Finger slash Small Man Finger build, which I definitely look forward to seeing. And I imagine if you were to build this build correctly, and depending on if you go poison, fire, or you go physical, you should be able to, especially with some of the new items, be able to get this probably 40 or higher on greater risk. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Moving on to one of our new items is, of course, they made the Zunimasa get to 6-piece. And let me see here. The big thing about the 6-piece Zunimasa, it gives your pets 100% increased damage when you use a spender, like Haunt, or, you know, Grasp of the Dead, or Grasping Hands, whatever they call it. I haven't used that skill forever. Piranhas, anything that uses mana that hits a monster, that will make it have that effect. It will have that effect for 4 seconds, and like I reiterate again, it is only for pets. The 6-piece bonus is actually fantastic. The one big problem is, the only thing that they added within to get the 6-piece bonus is the gloves. Now, we all can kind of do the math. If they included gloves, we drop Tasker and Theo, because let's be real, none of us wants to run the Zunimasa helmet, and that's just really not going to happen. So, for the most part, when you're running the Zunimasa set, you're pretty much going to use the chest, the boots, the offhand, the ring, and the gloves. That's 5 pieces. Your other ring slot has to be a Ring of Royal Grandeur, thus opening up the helmet, which allows you to use Jerome, because as you can imagine, using Jerome with the up to 100% increased pet damage in combination with Piranhas, you know, all your passes, all the damage in your gear, And then also the new passive for the Zunimasa. I heard a lot of people have been enjoying the damage. Seeing their fetishes crit up to 70 million is pretty crazy. But the unfortunate thing is Blizzard needs to take a little bit of a reevaluation on looking at an alternative spot where we can drop the ring and maybe equip it somewhere else. I'm hoping they will include like a Zunimasa pants or a Zunimasa belt or a Zunimasa necklace. I go more into detail about it inside the, like I said, the guide for the PTR. But long story short is that we don't want them to implement 2 additional pieces, because then that would be kind of really ridiculous. As you can imagine, having an open slot on rings for we can run Unity Ring in combination with Drum and Tasker and Theo and a new 6-piece bonus that makes our pets hit 100% more damage. That's a little bit too much. However, I think if they were to just simply add a necklace or a belt, that would be fine. We can drop the ring. We can still lose out DPS on the Tasker and Theo. But the main thing is we'll be able to run Unity and actually use it in Greater Rift. Because right now, T6 content, lower Greater Rifts, Zuni's great. A lot of people love it. A lot of people get very frustrated when they start progressing to higher Greater Rifts because they don't really have that, they don't have any survivability due to the fact of not having the Unity Ring. And this is kind of funny because this is why I told people maybe down the road Unity Ring might start hurting some legendary sets and different things like that, because that is pretty much blocking you from what you can do. So, long story short, I hope Blizzard adds 1 more piece for Zuni, belt or necklace, or even pants are okay. I do not hope they add 2, because if they add 2 new pieces, then it means we'll be able to run Tasker and Theo, have the ring slot, and have the Drum, which I do agree is a little bit overpowered. So, Zuni is looking okay for now, but if you're inside the forums and stuff and you want to suggest stuff, I know they have a Zunimasa forum suggestion thread. Just suggest that, hey man, we just need 1 more piece on the necklace or the belt or the pants to give us something to use, or even the shoulder. I hate to say, even let us use the shoulder, that'd be perfectly fine, or a bracer. Don't think they put it on bracer, but you guys get the idea. So make sure you hop on the PTR forums and just under suggestion or Zunimasa, make sure you guys put it there so the the developers can see that and understand that we need to use Unity to do solo play. I mean, it would be a great build otherwise, but in groups and stuff. But let's be real, if you build a Zunimasa set, you want to go to Greater Rifts. Okay. And what do they mean? It would be crazy. I just explained that with all the different damages and Tasker and Theo, it would just be too much. Oh, fantastic new item. Cloth of Transcendence. And actually I'm going to show you guys 2 things. I'm going to show you the Zunimasa gloves. They're right here. It's just called Zunimasa finger wraps. Nothing really fancy about that. But the Transcendent wraps, I'm wearing them right now. And as you can see, it says summon a fetish sycophant when you hit with a mana spender. Whoever created these pants, I just want to applaud you. These are the kind of legendaries that we love. Multiple builds for Witch Doctor outside of Jade build don't use the pants. And let me tell you, man, being able to summon a fetish sycophant 100% of the time by using a mana spender is incredible. As you guys can see, I'm already using Haunt Poison Spirits. What that does, and that makes it so we don't have to run fetish sycophants anymore. Now, if you're wondering, what happens is I cast a Haunt, it triggers, I summon a fetish, and it's a fetish sycophant from the passive fetish sycophants. Just so I can let you guys know now before you get big-headed or think of anything crazy, you cannot get 30 fetishes with the fetish sycophant. If you run the passive and you run the skill, it still gets capped out at 15. So your best bet is to drop fetish sycophants, just like how I did in this situation. I'm running Tribal Rights because I'm running a Raffle Protector Small Man's Finger build. You cannot stack them. So what it's basically doing is freeing up an extra passive, which you can use for Jungle Fortitude, or if you want more damage, Gruesome Feast. But it's a fantastic pair of pants. I've also been testing a little bit with Spirit Barrage. I'll be able to test a little bit more in the future, but I mean right now everybody's getting, at least for me, some people are, some people aren't, but I'm getting massive frame drops and they're trying to optimize and fix it on the PTR so more people can figure out, or more people can start playing and they can also figure out what the problem is. But long story short, if you're using it with Haunt, I think Haunt's the best mana generator or mana spender to use because it casts pretty fast. It only costs 50 mana, and then if you use the Poison Spirit, they're going to also take a 20% increased damage, which is fantastic. And then you're using that with combination of Piranhas, you should have no problem. If you wanted to do something different, you can actually drop the Fetish Sycophants, run Rush of Essence, run Spirit Barrage, because Spirit Barrage is a mana spinner and it'll do the same exact thing. So either of those are pretty solid spinners, especially if you're using those pants. If you don't want to use the pants, you can still use it the old-fashioned way with Rain of Toads, but I would highly recommend to start looking into that. And also, those pants are amazing because they fit in with the Zunimasa 6-piece set because there is no Zuni pants. So if you were to get those pants, not only are you going to be generating fetishes because you're using a mana spender, you're also going to be triggering the effect of the set bonus for the Zunimasa. So at least for that right now, that's pretty much, if not outside of the small man's finger, I'm still debating the newest Witch Doctor item, which I am totally happy about, and I'm glad that they did because it opens up so much more stuff for us to do. Outside of that, items that are not specifically Witch Doctor only, but that are also pretty good. I'm not going to go too much into it because I don't want to go too much into an item that I don't know if they're going to ban or not, but they have 2 weapons, or 3. The first is Ngoyim, or Geoim. I know I probably mispronounced it horribly, and somebody in the YouTube videos will probably correct me, but I just wanted to talk about it real quick. What it actually is, it is a single-handed weapon, and it's in the description. I linked the picture. It's a single-handed weapon. And it reduces our base school cooldowns from 4 to 6 seconds. So basically, let me see here. It would be from 15 seconds minus 6. That puts me at 9, which is a little ludicrous. I'm not going to go too much into it. For 0 DPS, it would be fantastic. Whenever you know, that's just a flat reduction. I don't know if it's going to make it to live servers, or it might. But if they do that, that's going to change up a lot of things because it's going to make things really crazy because that's very dangerous to give some people a 6-second cooldown reduction, but we'll see how it goes. And you are giving up the possibility of 2-handed weapons, and then you're also giving up the chance of running a good single-hander, so that might balance off pretty well, but I'm thinking it might be kind of crazy for builds where you're allowed to switch, but then in Greater Rifts you can't switch gear anyway, but it might actually end up being pretty decent for 0 DPS. I don't know if it'll beat out Selenium or Star Metal, but I mean, hey, it might. Who knows? So that's definitely looking interesting. We'll keep an eye on that, and we'll see if Blizzard will go ahead and get rid of it or keep it. And then if they do change anything, I will update this guide just so people have the up-to-date information about what's going on. Outside of that, Ring of Zodiac. This is another crazy ring. I can't believe they did. Basically, reduces the cooldown of our skills by 1 second for each time we use a mana spender. Do I really need to go into what that does? I mean, of course, that's going to be really good for 0 DPS. It'll be pretty solid for Jade build. I mean, I even think even if you want to go like a really Glass Cannon Jade build, that might be really crazy because that means every time you were to cast Haunt, it would reduce the cooldown. So, like, that ring could single-handedly just, I don't want to say revolutionize, but like, could you imagine that every single time you cast Haunt, which is a mana spender, you get 1 second off? That's really scary because, like, by the time you're haunting up the mob, the more you haunt the mob up, the faster your cooldowns go down too, and just as long as you time your cooldowns and you have enough cooldown reduction, things get kind of loco. It might be so crazy that Witch Doctors might be able to pretty much permanently stay in Spirit Walk, and then what they'll do is just drop the Unity Ring and just run Ring of Royal Grandeur, run Ring of the Zodiac, reduce their cooldown, and just go crazy. Because on bosses, you just keep taunting them over and over again, and you can keep doing it, getting the reduction. The one thing I think, and I actually have to double check this, and I will update in the future about this, but even if you just can't simply just keep casting the mana spender spell on the same target over and over again, I don't know. We have to go and test it because some skills are working with it, some are not. But if they make it so that you don't have to cast it on a new target, you can just hit the same target, that's going to be insane for Jade. But I don't think that ring, like the way it is going to see its light of day. But if it does change, like I said before, with the Engium sword, I will go back and update about it. And the last one I want to talk about is Broken Ring of Promises. After 5 consecutive hits, your critical chance is increased by 100% for 3 seconds. As I'm looking in the guide right now that I got written down, it's supposed to be non-critical attacks, because if it was just regular attacks it wouldn't matter. But the reason why this item is so crazy some of you guys may not remember when they were doing the legendary gems, the original Enforcer gem wasn't pet damage and pets have more survivability. It actually was pet damage and pets have a 40% more chance to crit. So basically what that meant is if you were a Witch Doctor and you have 50% crit chance and you're a pet build, what you want to do is drop that 50% crit chance all the way down to 10% crit chance, because like you would still end up getting 50% crit chance and you can just stack a bunch of other stats that you want. And as you can imagine, if you don't have to roll crit chance on a lot of stuff, things can get quite silly, because all you would need is about, I think it was what, if they got 40% crit chance, they don't need 100% crit chance, all they need is about 90. You could get 40% or 30% crit chance, and that'd be good, because you'd be at 70 to 80, and that'd be fantastic. Now, Blizzard never let that hit the light of day, because that was crazy. But now they're reintroducing in the ring, and the ring says every 5 hits that are non-critical, it gives you a 100% critical chance for 3 seconds. And why this is dangerous is this. If you were to make a build that had no crit chance, or you ran absolutely the bare amount of crit chance possible, and you had a high attack speed and you stacked a crap ton of critical damage on every single piece, you would only need attack speed and critical damage on as many pieces as you can get. And the reason why that's dangerous is because your attack speed would be so fast if you stacked a lot of it. Let's say like Carnival build, right, where you want to get a lot of attack speed. And as soon as you hit 5 hits where you don't crit, you get 100% crit chance for 3 seconds, and then you're going to keep reoccurring that 100% critical chance over and over again. And once you have 100% critical chance, all that critical damage gets factored in, things start to die horribly. People are already doing crazy things with it right now. So, do I think that is going to see the light of day? Probably not. Or at least Blizzard needs to input it on that Pacific ring. It needs to make the Broken Ring of Promises be, this effect can only occur once every 5 or 10 seconds, and that would be perfectly fine, but then it might make the ring useless. But I guess we'll have to watch and see what they're gonna do. And outside of all that, the biggest things I just wanted to close with is that the Cloth of Transcendence is gonna basically make it so we can swap out Fetish Sycophants for like a lot of different choices, like Gruesome Feast, Grave Injustice, Jungle Fortitude, or Spirit Vessel. Tall Man's Finger, Small Man's Finger, you might want to switch out Fetish Sycophants for Midnight Feast, Zombie Dog Handler, Fierce Loyalty. I think a big thing is you're going to start seeing a lot of Witch Doctors as they get the Cloth of Transcendence. Those are the pants that allow you to basically get a free fetish when you use a Mana Spender. People are going to start encouraging or incorporating that into their builds and doing all that different kind of stuff. And the builds are going to change. I don't think anything is going to be too dramatically changed. I still think Jade's going to be #1, but it might use that new ring that basically makes it so that every time you do a spender, you get a 1 second cooldown reduction. They might use that. Who knows? They might use the sword. But for the most part, I don't see anything that's going to make Witch Doctor on the top tier. Other than us being in groups. If anything, our 0 DPS is going to be retardedly insane. Our solo capabilities, which I always tell people, we don't necessarily need a buff if we're doing really good in groups, because no matter how crappy the Witch Doctor is in solo Greater Rift, let's say Witch Doctors could only do level 30. Who cares? Because at the end of the day, you're only ranked versus other Witch Doctors. And I know some people don't agree with that philosophy, but just because another class could do Greater Rift level 60 in single or solo play, it doesn't mean we have to. Witch Doctor is dominant in 2s, 3s, and 4s right now for 0 DPS, which looks like they're going to make it a lot stronger in the upcoming future. So, I mean, I think we're still going to be using the same major builds, just switching things around. If they do the right thing with Zunimasa, you'll start seeing people using a lot of Zunimasa and stuff like that. So I look forward to all the new changes and things that are coming up. I'm going to keep re-updating when things change out and things get changed majorly. I am going to come out with a Small Man's Finger video. I want to show that on Greater Rifts and then how to build the build, but I got to wait until they fix the FPS problem. I'm also going to show a video on PTR of the Wormwood build using the new Hex ability, which will be fantastic. And then I got a couple more interesting kings coming out in terms of new builds for the PTR. So whenever they fix it, I'll start getting on there and doing work. So you guys can look forward to that. But like I said, again, the main reason why I made this video is just because I know a lot of people are going to come in the chat and be like, Debo, what's going on with the PTR? I can send you guys to the guide and what I wrote down and what you need to focus on, the major things. And also you guys watch the video while you're playing Diablo. Or you can just listen to it and be like, oh, okay, this is what Debo is talking about specifically for Witch Doctor, so you guys could know what things you definitely should be focusing on. But outside of all that, Always appreciate you guys watching the stream and following and all the supporters. Thank you so much. You guys have been awesome ever since the new season has started. Very supportive, very keeping me motivated to do what I'm doing, and I'm just going to keep hammering out these guides every week, man, and trying to... This was like the first day I took off since the beginning of Ladder, because every day I've been banking out at least 12 hours a day. Not that that's anything to be impressive of, because that's really kind of depressing, but you guys, you know. I just like playing Diablos, helping people out, and sharing information and doing the footwork so you guys don't have to. But anyways, that's enough rumbling. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Look forward to future updates, and y'all have a good day.